Progress.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Rockingham County Board of Commissioners meeting for January 26, 2026. Thank you, everybody, for your patience while we figured out some technical difficulties. And now I call the meeting to order and ask everyone to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. In the room auditorium today, we have all three Board of Commissioners, Commissioner Tombarello, Commissioner Godu, and myself, Commissioner Coyle. We'll move right to RFP openings and awards, and first the opening for paper plastic products for facilities operations.
Make a motion to authorize the senior director.
Any discussion? Hearing none on the motion, Commissioner Tombarello,
Yes.
Commissioner Godu,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Next, we have the award for emergency dispatch radio and 911 recording system equipment.
Make a motion to award the proposal for emergency dispatch radio and 911 recording system equipment to Exacom Inc. for an amount not to exceed $41,877 as recommended by the Senior Director, Facilities Planning and IT, and the IT Director. Second.
Discussion? It is more expensive. It was the most expensive of the bids, and I don't think Robin's here, but thank you to Robin for giving us a detailed explanation. This is going to have extra support for the next year, as well as just the robust nature of the product is going to better serve us for the future. So even though it was slightly more expensive than the next one down the line, it's really going to suit our needs. I think it's a good investment and was really well researched. So thank you, Jude, to you and Robin. Any other discussion? Commissioner Godu?
Yes.
Commissioner Tombarello?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next, we have, moving on to the consent agenda, we have the December 11th and December 18th meeting minutes. Approval.
Make a motion to approve December 11th and December 18th, 2025 public meeting minutes. Second.
Discussion? Thank you, Leila. On the motion, Commissioner Tombarello?
Yes.
Commissioner Godu?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Interject a comment. Can we make, has anybody considered a service to go and do some outstanding? Have we thought about that? I'd like to, Layla's to be out for this week. It would be good if we took a couple of the public ones that are posted and have them do it, see how it comes out, see if it's worthy. Helpful. What, you know, that's the thing with that. So I think we need direction from the board to do that. So you don't think we should? Okay.
I'm glad.
Okay. Next, so we just took the motion on the meeting minutes. We'll move right on to the adult medical daycare payout report. And what I can see is that we're right on track. We had, in terms of our payout, so it's nice to see we're halfway through the fiscal year and we are right on budget. We had given some money, or we have allocated some money to Silverthorne to facilitate transportation. Even with those allocations, we should be in a good place from a budgetary standpoint. So it's good to see halfway through the year we're right where we need to be.
With that additional allocation, we're evenly distributing the money between Easter Seals and Silverthorne, which really disparate. So I think.
Great. Next, we'll move on to the January 22nd, 2026 AP list.
I'll make a motion to approve the January 22nd, 2026 accounts payable list total $2,012,651.78.
Second.
Discussion?
paid for Driscoll too, is that all? That painted, that complete?
But we also have some of the costs associated with the HVAC and wastewater treatment projects, the ARPA project, so that's good. So that was one of the big ticket items. We also had a prime care bill this month, and that was almost $200,000 for February. So for the Department of Corrections. Just between the projects and prime care, that's $500,000. Any other comments? Hearing none. On the motion, Commissioner Godu,
Yes.
Commissioner Tombrello.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Moving right into Commissioner's office. Any updates, gentlemen?
Just real quick on adult medical daycare. Talked about it. I poked my head into Salem. I wanted to go district.
Oh,
I went in there
without
just-
permission.
Yeah, I was taking out a permit next to a town hall. I said, "Let me go in there and see him." And it's always good to be able to go in there kind of unannounced, and really, really good. They were happy. They didn't have cookies. They had apple crisp, but they did promise me next time we'd get cookies. But it was nice to go in there. They put a little porch. They got some folks, either an Eagle Scout or somebody to do a porch on the back of the building. So they were pretty full. I don't know the exact numbers, but
Oh, it's Silverthorne.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
very nice. That deck in the back is,
Yeah,
was done.
really.
I was there when they officially did the dedication.
Yeah.
It got a rip. Yeah, it's money well spent.
And
Yeah.
particularly,
nice.
continuing the facility of the transportation is such a important factor in terms of attendance at the adult medical daycare program. So it's so great to see that, that we're able to continue to support that after the grant had concluded. So great. Okay. Moving on, we have the janitorial and housekeeping services bid further discussion. So, do we want to discuss it first and then move to bring on the table, or?
Make a motion to
Oh, and then start discussion? I agree. I'll take a motion to bring it off the table.
So moved.
I'll second that.
On the motion, Commissioner Tombrello,
Yes.
Commissioner Godu,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Now that it's off the table, we can begin our discussions. And last time we met, we asked for some formal written responses to questions. Each of the three the top three that we're in discussions with submitted various explanations and answers to the questions. Did you guys all have a chance? Everybody have a chance to review these? I have to say,
My position is where it was before with the lowest bid. I haven't changed my mind.
Commissioner Tombrello?
I looked at it in length, and then I've seen a couple of emails that have gone out this week from a couple of the elected officials that concern me. So I think, unfortunately, I know one of the vendors. It's hard to do this, but I think we're probably going to need to make a change.
And I have to say, when I looked at the three, I think when I looked at the written responses, I'm most inclined at this point to go with Star Builders. And the reason I'm where I came out is because I think they can most effectuate in terms of they were most responsive in terms of the timing of cleaning services, the hours of our needs. In terms of starting at 1 in the afternoon and going into the evening. They offer, comparatively to the other two respondents, they offer 18 hours of labor per day, whereas the other two are at 12. All three were consistent in terms of including the glass cleaning in the overall cost. And when we do look at the cost, they are not the least expensive, but they come right in the middle. And when I look at my concern with when um, American facilities, I am concerned about the number of hours and specifically the timing of the hours. We are very specific about, we want it, their position is they want to start at 8 a.m. in the day, and they have a sort of a limited number of evening hours, but that's predominantly what we want in terms of, so it's not disruptive to day-to-day business. So
I would just say in this part, looks like we keep focusing on hours. I just want to know, what is it gonna take to clean this building? I'm not really concerned about hours. I'm more concerned about the job getting done. If the job's not done, then we're gonna get complaints and we're gonna be the complainant to the vendor. And I really felt strong with American. I mean, I keep going back on the window part of it, really getting nervous about people coming to this building and getting up on this building to clean this building. It is gonna, as I said, that a big chunk of ice just fell off that building. This is gonna be a real hard building. They have access to bucket trucks. I felt comfortable with his answers with American. I'm really concerned about that, and I don't. If they some people are better, like some electricians in my trade are better and quicker than others. I just want to know, what does it going to take to clean this building? I don't care if it's 16 hours, 10 hours. Somebody's going to be better at it. So I'm looking at American. They've been engaged in the meeting a lot like our current vendor. The other one that Commissioner Coyle referenced, they haven't even attended one of these meetings. So that's a concern, that they're not here to answer questions. I know Mike from CM and the other folks have all been on the screen here since day one. So if there's a motion, I'm going to second American.
Just for clarity, the Star, and they have at least participated in one of the Zoom meetings. They haven't completely. But,
they were responsive
But
to
they were-
the question follow-up. So
right, so,
I think you guys are in alignment on who to go with. So if we want to make the motion, we can move forward and on to the next.
okay, I'll move to, award the proposal for janitorial housekeeping services to American, what's that called?
Facility.
American Facilities, for an amount.
Oh,
For the amount cheapest of everybody.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, that was the number, for an amount not to exceed $128,217.
Before I second, I'll second it, and then I have a question. So I'll second it.
Again, go ahead, Commissioner.
Just the term. So are we doing all of 2026 and putting this back out for an RFP? Because I think the motion needs to say that we would, I mean, maybe it's going to be a
condition
year.
for 1 year.
Yeah, not to exceed 1 year.
Okay.
Then we'll reevaluate,
Right.
because I think that
So
there are so many unanswered questions. I think we need to go through.
I guess I'll make the amendment to the motion for, so the award is to American for an amount not to exceed $128,217 for a term not to exceed 12 months.
I'll second that amendment.
So is there any further discussion? Hearing none, Commissioner Godu,
Yes.
Commissioner Tombrello.
Yes.
And I vote no. Okay. Well, next we have the building dedication plaque discussion. Commissioner Godu, did you want to raise?
I initiated this discussion because I was surprised reading the plaque. And that I didn't like the language that was on the plaque. And what concerns me most is that we didn't ever get any proof on that. I don't know who designed it. I don't know who approved it, because it certainly wasn't done by us. One of the things that's wrong with it is that the date is wrong. We have a dedication date of August 1, 2025. We dedicated the building in November of this year. That doesn't seem right to me. I don't like some of the wording that says thanking the commissioners. I don't think that's common. it would seem to me that you just list commissioner and builder, you know, but all that being said, and that could be a longer discussion about what that plaque really ought to say, because we haven't had any discussion on that. But the other thing that has come to my mind after I've thought about this for a week is that I'm concerned with the price of, I mean, it's going to be up for 100 years. So I think it's important to do things right. But at the same time, I've just learned that it's going to be $5,000 to $10,000 to change that. And that's not money that I'm willing to expend right at the moment. I'm unhappy and I wanted to bring it up, and so share that.
Do you have anything you want to share, Commissioner? I mean, I think it lends itself to further conversation, but we're probably all on the same page where we're probably not going to take any action immediately just because it's costly, but maybe we can that would afford us some time to figure out what direction we want to go. If we want to do it in a particular way, how it should read, so that it's buttoned up by the time we make a decision to spend the money for it. Yeah.
Well,
What?
I like it because it's front of the only place that my name is written right.
They didn't call you Tim?
Or Tomas.
Or Tomas. Yeah, I have a new name now, Tomas.
Tomas. We are going to move right to facilities operations. We have a change order request for the Toshiba copying machine.
I'll make a motion to approve a change order request for Toshiba from amount not to exceed $9,150.72 as recommended by the Senior Director of Facilities Planning and IT Director.
Second.
Discussion? These are extra copiers. One is going to the Sheriff's Department and one is going to the Department of Corrections. Where's the Department of Corrections, the new one going?
So when we talk about ports for the photocopying for the inmates for their legal mail that we can roll onto them. We photocopy all their legal mail and then put the originals in their bin for when they leave for contraband, that kind of stuff. We were using a very small, older one on a roll around cart that wasn't sufficient amount of information, as you know, that comes in for discovery and everything else.
Great, thanks. Okay, on the motion, I think Commissioner Godu,
Yes.
Commissioner Tombrello.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next, we have Years of Service Awards event at Sorvino to approve the event contract.
I'll make a motion to approve a special event contract with Zavino Vineyards for the 2026 Years of Services Awards event scheduled for September 23rd, 2026, and authorize the chair to sign all necessary documents as recommended by the Senior Director of Human Resources.
Second.
Discussion?
They did a fantastic job last year. Everybody was happy. I'm happy to be going back again. Although I would like sometime to be able to have a facility that's walking distance from my house, just like Commissioner Tomarello's.
I could take my ATV there.
You can take the ATV there. But yeah, no, I think it's grateful. They did a good job.
On the motion, Commissioner Tombrello,
Yes.
Commissioner Godu?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next, we have the second related motion.
I'll make a motion to authorize a payment of $750 as a deposit to secure the reservation with Zavino Vineyards.
Second.
Any discussion? On the motion, Commissioner Godu,
Yes.
Commissioner Tombrello,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Next, we have the new gym opening and training sessions provided with Cigna Wellness Funds.
I'll make a motion to approve the engagement of Jen from Some Like It Fit to provide gym training sessions for employees in the new Employee Fitness Center at a rate of $125 an hour, funded through the Cigna Wellness Initiative as recommended by the Senior Director of Human Resources.
Second.
Discussion? Just think this is a great use of Cigna Wellness dollars. This is exactly what it's intended to. And Allison, thank you for all your work in terms of getting the release ready and getting this all lined up. I think it's going to end up being a real asset to our employees here.
We have a lot of anxious fitness employees that really want to get in there and use that gym. So it will be open next week with the anticipation of this being approved. So we thank the board for allowing us to have this gym in this building and certainly for allowing us to use the wellness funds in these types of venues. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
I just think it's a good use of the money. You know, we get so much money each year. We use it every year and we pretty much don't have to give them any back. And I think we really use it wisely.
It's use it or lose it, so.
Yeah.
And I do think Allison and the HR team does a really good job of making sure we expend it for ways that are really beneficial to everybody at the county. On the motion, Commissioner Tombrello.
Yes.
Commissioner Godu.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next, we have Long-Term Care Services Navigator Group Purchasing LLC membership agreement.
I'll make a motion to approve the membership agreement with Navigator Group Purchasing LLC at no cost to the county, effective December 8th, 2025, for the initial term of 2 years with automatic 1-year renewals thereafter, and authorize the chair to sign all necessary documents as necessary, as recommended by the Senior Director of Long-Term Care Services.
Second.
Discussion?
Essentially what it is it gives us discounts through companies that we purchase. However, because the vendors we utilize haven't been updated in over 6 years, there's vendors that we're ordering from that we're unable to capture those savings. So we need a new contract to be able to update that.
And this is an independent contractor, so in terms of, Primex makes some recommendations, but they're not so applicable here. On the motion, Commissioner Godu.
Yes.
Commissioner Tombrello.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next, we have the medical director agreement approval.
I'll make a motion to approve the medical director agreement with Lauren Damaris, DO, and Vantage Healthcare LLC effective February 1st, 2026 for initial term of 1 year at the cost of $30,000 with the option to renew for successive 1-year terms, and authorize the chair to sign all necessary documents as recommended by the Senior Director of Long-Term Care Services.
Second.
Discussion?
I just have
Oh, sure.
one
Go ahead.
question. I looked at that contract, the consecutive years, it doesn't show an increase.
I apologize. I realized I didn't do a bid waiver. So I'm not sure if we have to table it.
So,
And then I didn't hear your question when I
Because,
realized.
I mean, I don't think anybody's gonna leave it at 30,000.
Or are they?
so, first, I think we need to table,
Table it,
we
yeah.
actually just need to do you want to, we can do a bid waiver now. We can approve a bid waiver, right?
Great.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to take back my motion.
Okay, well, we're gonna table
Okay.
this for now. First, we need to come forward with a bid waiver. So, do you want me to
Make a motion to table this for later.
well, I think we can do it today if we,
Oh.
I mean, I guess the question is, do we want to get paperwork regarding why it's a bid waiver? Or do we want to make the motion for the bid waiver? I understand that maybe it would be helpful. Chantel, do you want to explain why you do this as a bid waiver, what your efforts were to procure it?
So there's different agencies that we can contract with. This all stemmed from the core providers giving us 60-day notice. 2 of the providers that are impacted by that, one of them is our medical director, and we are required to have a medical director on license from a regulatory standpoint. In looking at different companies, there were a few options. Some of them were not what I would say were a viable option because you are not able to use your own nurse practitioner. You have to use their nurse practitioner, and we have a wonderful nurse practitioner, and that's a core part of the team. Additionally, we are already affiliated with Vantage, and they provide services to residents that elect in our assisted living. So it's someone we are already partnering and able to continue that relationship from a continuity standpoint.
And I would feel comfortable just moving forward with the bid waiver because I know that I've had the luxury of talking to Chantel along the way about this, but that she did make, in terms of an extensive amount of research into who to go with prior to, entering into this contract. We already have them, so it's like a vendor that we're familiar with and have worked with, and there's, we are time is of the essence in terms of establishing this partnership because of our requirements to keep a medical director.
They were also recommended by a few county homes that are affiliated with them in this capacity, as well as other peers of mine. They were the name that continued to come up as the most responsive
And they're less expensive than what we're,
significantly.
so it's worth noting that they're significantly less expensive than what we're currently paying for the same service and offer more services in terms of telehealth and other like
Yeah.
appointments at off hours that we're not getting right
So some of the other companies didn't have the telehealth built in. So what we would have had to do is do a separate contract to cover the telehealth services because the on-call hours. This company, the telehealth is included. So at a certain time, there's a video kind of number we call in and they see our patients, we can get orders and still do all of those components and they give a report. This one of the companies that we didn't move forward with, we would have had to do a separate contract, which is a per bed price that would have added to the total cost as well, where it's included in this one.
Are we okay with successive year pricing, or was that something that was overlooked?
So we had some conversations about it, and essentially those would be conversations as the year came and how things are going in routine routine meetings around kind of what that looks like. Another component around it is because they bill the hours of what's seen, the price is off of what we said we needed. So if we ended up having, they have to come to certain meetings or things, the price will have to change and fluctuate if the needs established in the building change to do some of that. So there are conversations that would happen and we would bring it back if there was a change.
So we'll reevaluate next year.
We will continue to have the conversation, and if the price were to change, then that's a conversation that I bring back.
So
Bid waiver.
great. Okay. I move to approve a bid rate waiver request to Vantage Healthcare LLC for the source of a medical director agreement with Lauren Damaris DO, and as recommended by the Senior Director of Long-Term Care Services.
Second.
Any discussion on the bid waiver? I think we've exhausted it. Commissioner Godu,
Yes.
Commissioner Tombrello,
Yes.
and I vote yes. So now we need to go back to, we need a motion to bring the medical director agreement off the table. And then we can approve the contract.
So moved.
Okay.
I'm gonna say what you
On the motion to bring the medical director agreement off the table, second, Commissioner Tombrello,
Yes.
Commissioner Godu,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Okay, now we have, do you want to renew the motion, Commissioner Tombrello?
Make a motion to approve the medical director agreement with Lauren Damaris, DO, and Vantage Healthcare LLC effective February 1st of 2026. An initial term of 1 year and authorized year at a cost of $30,000 with the option to renew the successful 1 year terms and authorize the chair to sign all necessary documents as recommended by the Senior Director of Long-Term Care.
Discussion? It's worth noting that the contract was sent to Primex. The ultimate agreement was a mutual indemnification, which is standard for what we do. And so, again, the contract itself has already been vetted. On the motion, Commissioner Godu,
Yes.
Commissioner Tombrello,
Yes.
and I vote yes. All right into department head updates, and Chuck, you're sitting there all by yourself on the other side, so go right ahead.
Okay, it is on. All right. Just busy. Again, this is the month following quarter end, so there's all sorts of quarterly filings, whether it's payroll related, grant related, what have you. Just a reminder that in this auditorium tomorrow morning, 9:30, is the quarterly review meeting held by the Delegation Executive Committee. So we'll go over all the 12/31/25 numbers, some other fund reporting, and other information as well, including 3 line item transfers. Let's see, W-2s will be going out, but they are already available online for employees in the UKG system. And also with the W-2s going out, we will have statements or letters attached for any qualifying overtime for that overtime deduction that can be available to some employees. Let's see, that was part of that tax law change that was passed in July.
And again, just, very busy. Thank you to Long-Term Care for helping out with the Medicaid cost per audit. The DHHS team was only here for a few hours on Tuesday, and that was it. So they seemed pretty happy with things. So thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. The short audit is a reflection of all the hard work and the thoroughness of what's taking place both with your department and long-term care. Okay, you're you're done on that side. Allison.
Good morning. We held, as part of our financial well-being for our employees, starting in January, we did a 457 deferred compensation meeting around the campuses and allowed people to attend those meetings to see if they have any interest in that and ask those appropriate questions that they want for their own financial well-being. It ties into the New Hampshire retirement system and a way to have contributions that they want to make over and above to something else like a 457 plan. So that was conducted. We are finalizing the fitness gym, as you heard with the opening. We were able, I want to say thank you to Deputy Abel. He was the one we went to say, do you know anybody outside in the community that is certified that would have an interest? And he right away made some calls, and within the next day we had some names, and we brought an individual in, and they were terrific. They went through stuff, talked about everything, and I think it'll be a nice partnership with the county and the employees. I think they'll really enjoy working with this certified instructor. And lastly, preparing weather emergency. We're talking, Chantel, Jude, myself, and determining what we want to do for this storm that is heading our way Sunday afternoon into Monday. So more to come on that. But thank you so much.
Thanks, Allison. Jude.
All's well in facilities operations. I just have a few report items. Chuck and I have been meeting with Revision and Eversource, trying to nail down what we're getting for reimbursement checks, what they're basing the checks on, how the unit is running, et cetera. We are in the final stages of getting data from the solar array onto the county's website and onto a dashboard that we can use to observe, especially in this building, water usage, electricity usage, fuel usage, and now we'll have production from the solar array. So we're pretty excited about pulling that data in. I'm collecting pricing to finish getting the materials out of the old courthouse. I've just about nailed it down. I talked to Commissioner Tombarello. I think we're almost ready to go forward with that. We had yesterday, one of the jail generators, when our guy came in, he found there was a puddle of radiator fluid underneath the generator, one of the two generators. I'm still seeking pricing, but it looks like it's going to be meaningful. So I'll keep you posted on that. Otherwise, we are also ramping up, getting ready for the storm. Everybody's ready. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Jude. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. Currently, the jail's at 186. Things going on yesterday went down. We were supposed to testify in Bill 1510, which would change things that upon arrest, the inmate would have become ours, basically anywhere in your county. It would have been a significant impact on the taxpayers and us, because if it had been ours right away, it would have stopped their Medicaid or Medicare or anything they were on. We would own the bill from moving forward. We were able to meet with one of the sponsors yesterday. Superintendent Costanzo in Hillsborough did a great job, and Ben Champagne up in Coas to actually take it off the table yesterday. And we're going to sit down and have a discussion and hear their concerns, the sheriff's concerns out of Belknap, and try to work that together. So that was a good day. The academy started this past Monday. It's going very well. And beyond that, we're just, again, also getting ready for the storm. All things we have to clean up as well, too. So thank you.
Thanks. Let's see. Sheriff, I think you're Charles' iPhone, so.
That's me. Nothing new to report. Have a rest of a great week, and hopefully we won't get walloped with snow Sunday and the Monday. So, but thank you.
Thank you. Aaron, I see you on the on Zoom as well. Is there anything you want to add? Take that as a no. Leila, anything from you today? All right. We will not move right into new business, old business. So first we have a inmate administrative transfer.
Make a motion to approve an inmate administrative transfer pursuant to New Hampshire RSA 30-B:21 dated January 20, 2026, receiving one inmate from Hillsborough County as recommended by the superintendent.
Second.
Discussion? This is just standard. I think we talked about this last week as well. We move inmates between facilities on occasion, just depending on various needs of a facility. On the motion, Commissioner Godu,
Yes.
Commissioner Tombrello,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Okay, other new business, old business?
I don't have it.
I think it's worth, obviously, I think most people are here and we've been talking about this because of the proposed ICE contract. And we got some draft financials from Superintendent Henry yesterday afternoon. I had a chance to start looking at those and Superintendent, I just have a few questions for you. Because is it fair to well, I have a lot of questions, and I think some of them, we can go through the contract, line by line. Starting out, it says the service provider shall provide ICE with up to 150 beds. So to me, that puts us on the hook, that we have a requirement for 150 beds. What I see you in your financial analysis is that you have two scenarios, 88 beds and 150 beds. Do you want to please?
So need help from Jude. I just put those two scenarios. It could be sliding in between. So it's just put that out there to look at.
Is it your belief that 88 beds is is that one what are you thinking from a mechanics of the layout of how?
That'd be one unit.
What unit?
F.
Okay. And so maxing out F block.
Yes.
Okay. And what happens if ICE says shall put 150 in, and maybe these are questions, and we don't have the room because we're at 186 or 190 climbing.
When I spoke to him, it wouldn't be an issue, but I will follow up. And as you guys have questions, I will make sure I follow up with every one of them.
Okay. And then when you gave the proposed revenue, it didn't include staffing, correct?
Staffing as for
The cost of manning those units.
we have 64 funded positions, so it wouldn't cost any more of our budget.
Well, it's not there's an actual cost, right? Because to say we might be budgeted for it, but if we don't have F block open, then we don't have to staff it. And that's money that goes back to fund balance. So there is a cost associated. I mean, if we have 51 staff members, right? We have 51 staff members for 186 inmates. It stands to reason that if we have 88 or 150 more inmates, there's a cost to staff up those units.
Yep. If you want to look at it that way, I can do the math and take care of that.
Okay. And then when you have, because you talked about staffing with an average of $32 an hour, obviously that doesn't include roll-up costs, correct? Okay. So
And I understand where you're going with it. I would do with the Chuck with the roll costs and everything else. I make sure I give you a full picture.
and we have some of it, but the reason it's relevant is the contract talks about on-call rate at 36.30, overtime at 54.45, but so on-call being under the contract we are required to put 2 people anytime a detainee would have to leave the facility. It is our obligation to man that detainee with two COs, and those COs cannot be actually on a block. And the rate that we would be paid that is at 36.30. But for instance, that range is, we'd be losing money on that because
If I could inject, it's not off the ICE unit, so we can take officers off of other blocks and other places that we have them. So it's off the ICE block. And Commissioner, if it's a lot of questions, will this be better suited if are written down so I can go back and look instead of going back and forth? I can just up to you.
Sure. Obviously, I have a lot through the contract. There are questions essentially as I read the contract and what's concerning, but you sent us this yesterday about financials. So in looking at the financials, I think this is somewhat misrepresentative because to the extent it's only $32 an hour for a CO, and it appears on the sheet that the on-call rate is 36, so that we're profiting from it, even if we're pulling someone off a different shift. If it costs us $60 with roll-up costs to pay that CO, and we're only being, plus 2, and we're only being reimbursed 36 an hour, that's a loss leader. That's not revenue, that's a cost.
Can I put something? So when I said it was draft and asked for more of your questions, please, I hope you're not presenting this as that is what it is, because it's not. I asked as a draft and more questions. These are great questions. I'm happy to answer it. So I didn't put out there as matter of fact. All right. So that's why it was yesterday. I told you I gave you rough something for this meeting. It's nowhere near what you're looking for, which is fine. I'm happy to do all that.
Great. And then, I think there's because we're on the hook under the contract for all medical related costs. So when we're talking about those costs, and it's just like for the future, anything going to the hospital, about partnerships with hospitals, do we have those agreements? Those are things. And if you prefer that we can certainly, I'll send you them. I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I'm just responding. Like if it was yesterday afternoon, we're here.
Apologies. I thought giving that to you would spur more questions that you guys would have, and then I can go back and actually. It's hard knowing all the questions that you're going to have. I got a couple, but I thought this was going to be spur more questions so I could have them all, so I can go back and actually give in written form and find out all the answers that you're looking for, or what I can't find either as well too. So I want to make sure that I had everything from all of you guys.
Okay, well, that's fine. You guys, I can keep going or we can move on, and if maybe it makes, go ahead.
One of the concerns that I have is that it's not clear in this contract that we do not accept juveniles. And there's a section in here that says that if we discover that someone is under the age of 18, that we'll be housing that person with minors in a separate kind of location. And the reality is we intend to refuse anyone that's under 18. And I'm wondering if there's something that we can put in the contract that specifically says, informs that we're not accepting. Although I think physically you're going to not accept anyway.
Correct. And it's actually, that is one of the questions I did put back to them when I saw that language. It's language they put in all of their contracts. They put it out there just because an umbrella in case something happens. We in New Hampshire do not accept. There are other places that do accept juveniles. That's why it's in this, like you said, boilerplate contract. It's the same over in the other counties that have an ICE contract. Right? We do not accept juveniles stay in New Hampshire, and they don't fall under PREA. They fall under SAPI, which is a different regulations when it has to do with anything with misconduct, that kind of thing.
Yeah. That requires sight and sound separation for all juveniles. The problem with this contract, and I know you went back to it, is it says ICE will relocate the juvenile within 72 hours. So where do we put the 16-year-old kid for 3 days?
Well, I
That
think
we wouldn't
answered,
accept
we're
them.
not gonna take them in the first place.
Yeah,
Should be here.
well, assuming that, that's flagged.
Go to Jason's house.
Looked into now, if anybody brings, who they bring into the jail, we won't accept any juvenile, and we've had PDs try and in the past, and even my own former past, the answer is no. Anybody that's under age of 18, we do not take.
Except if they don't have any, that it sounds great on paper, but if they don't have an AID and they don't speak English and there's we don't have any idea of, like, are we getting a bus full? Like, what are the circumstances? It's rare is the instance that you're booking people in masses, right? We book people one at a time. The police department usually brings two officers, sometimes one officer bringing one individual up. And now you're talking about, we have no idea what to expect, that a busload of detainees shows up who few speak English, and we have and none of them have any identification. How is a CO who's in booking going to make sure that doesn't happen?
Well, most of the commit is 20 at a time, which is in the contract. That's one. Second piece is if they have no identification or anything else, and they look at that are old enough, we take them in because we still wouldn't know. That could happen now on a PD who arrests somebody who doesn't have an ID, who gives a false birth certificate or anything else. And when we find out, then we'd have to sight and sound separate that individual if it did happen. They haven't had it happen yet, but it could happen now. I'm not looking to get in debate or anything. It could happen now that we could have somebody brought in. We wouldn't know their name, wouldn't know their date of birth because they're brought in by the police department. And then when we dig through and find out if that happened, we'd immediately have to put them, yes, sight and sound separation. We'd have to scramble, but it could happen today.
So we have the same issue currently. Essentially.
I understand where the commissioner's going with it. I do understand. I do fully understand. Different scale you're talking about, and I get it.
I would just say there's a lot in the contract. I didn't bring it here. It's at my house and I've started taking it apart. And obviously you guys have read the Portsmouth Herald this morning, saw that I have major issues. I have issues with a 5 to 6 year contract. I have issues that if things go bad on a Friday, that we're going to have to keep them for 90 days. That's probably not going to sit well with me, that all of a sudden we have some mini riot over there with these ICE detainees, and then we have to wait 90 days possibly for ICE to come get them. There's a lot. I'm actually trying to get engaged with. I have a meeting. I talked to George McGlaris, the chairman of the board of Stratford, and for those of you who don't know, Stratford got $10 million up front. If it happens this way, we're not taking any money up front if it happens. But they got $10 million up front, and they had no option but to stay with the contract. I would not want that, but at the same time, I don't want to be, we get some knucklehead over there that causes trouble. I don't want to wait 90 days to get rid of them. And I don't like it. I don't like the 5 to 6 year thing. I don't like the definition of approximate monies. I would want to know what the money, there's a lot, but I'm going to Stratford on Wednesday morning to tour their facility. I've also engaged with people from my district. Some of them asked if they could come sit with me. Wednesday, I reserved the conference room. Don't all of you come. I'm only taking 4 of them. I'm going to sit in there with 4 of them because I want to be the best at ICE before my decision is made. So it's very concerning. This is probably the biggest thing. I'm on my 12th year. This is probably the biggest decision I'm going to have to make. We had a tough one this morning that was regarding the cleaning of this building. This one is really, really tough. So I don't want to jump into it. I'm not, if I had said in the paper last night that if it came to a vote today, I would vote no. And I did get some nasty emails, and I got some stuff that wasn't nice sent to me because they want me just to vote yes. But I am going to do my work, and I promise the residents of Rockingham that I'll do my due diligence and vote the way that I'm supposed to vote. So if it's a yes, it's a yes. The comment in the paper that I made, I'm not going to flip a coin. Heads is yes and tails is no. I will do my work and I'll meet with anybody. District 3, Deerfield, people want to meet with me. I said, come on over. Come to my house. So they're coming here Wednesday. So I just want you to know that I don't take this thing lightly. This is a very, very serious matter. When I got elected way back, when we talk about the numbers on it, they don't hear real well down the very, very end, but I thought that the superintendent said 186. So that's the.
Last week it was
one-
193.
Huh?
193 last week,
Yeah,
186
so
this
the
week.
numbers seem to be rising. When I first got elected, like state, Mike Edgar will agree, when something goes bad, the state reps decide to start a subcommittee. So they had a subcommittee, and it was called the overcrowding of the jail. The former sheriff and former commissioners, and Mike was probably on it, and Norm Majors and a whole bunch of people, we all got together to figure out how to get that jail, because we talked about putting a $25 million addition on that jail. Because when I got elected, we had 330 people in there. We were transferring money, $250,000, 350,000, like it was nothing, because we couldn't get correction officers, and we were moving money all the time. Every week we had a change order to give money, a change order for overtime, and that's a big concern I get. A big concern that I have right now. And I don't want to take away from the fact that in this building, if you drive out back, we have community corrections. So I don't want to drift away from community corrections. I want to open that up back. And, there's a lot. So, I know you folks come here every Thursday. I missed you last week. Unfortunately, I was at a funeral, but you guys are respectful and you're concerned, and we are too. I am. I'm very, very concerned as to where this goes. So I made a comment in the paper this morning too, that I've been threatened that if I vote the wrong way, I'm going to be put out of office. Well, if that's what has to happen, that's what I'll vote the way that I'm supposed to vote when this comes to this table, and I have to say yes or no. They got me in the Portsmouth Herald saying I'm the swing vote. Okay, I'm Italian, I can handle it. I just want you folks to know that I don't, and I don't think the other two commissioners to my right take this lightly. This is probably the biggest decision that we're going to make. I just want you folks to know that. And I do have a bunch of questions, and the superintendent and I have daily questions about it. George McGlarus, who's a Democrat, he's the chairman of Stratford. Him and I have many, many questions about ICE, but they're a different situation. They got $10 million up front. And I asked them how they paid their employees over there double pay. So there's a lot, we could run into a situation where some of these employees and correction officers, and I'll be honest with you, somebody has to be the elephant in the room. Some of them don't want ICE. And I get the phone call because I'm the Italian guy. So they call the Italian and say, Tom, we don't want ICE in that jail. I take their call. So that's my story.
Thanks. I would like, do you mind? And then I just want to respond to a couple of things you said, which I think are really important points. One, we don't have community corrections open, and we need to staff it. And, Superintendent Henry, the delay, we have the $76 million brand new building that is paid for by the county taxpayer dollars. And we have that entire community corrections program that is not open. And the reason we didn't open it is because we wanted to take our time, get it set up, get it staffed up. And obviously it's concerning that this beautiful new building, if we're putting our resources, and by resources I mean manpower and women power, our correctional officers, if we're needing to fill F block at the cost of not having this community corrections program that the community was, and our state reps supported and funding, that feels like working backwards. And the other thing I would like to say, just with respect to the contract as it relates to our correctional officers, there's a lot of things in here, requirements of correctional officers. We need to require correctional officers to get medical exams within 30 days of signing this contract. There are all these specific requirements for officers, and I think we're going to have to be signing MOUs to get them to, if we approve this contract, we need MOUs, because we can't all of a sudden now compel all of our current correctional officers in the next 30 days to get lab work, which we have to have a relationship with a particular lab and get certain medical exams. So again,
I've got one.
go ahead.
Just to go back to the part about the overcrowding of the jail, you know, when I first got elected back in 2012, we had 340, 350. They were sleeping in the hallways. It wasn't comfortable. We talked about, like I said, the $25 million addition to the jail that we looked at in the subcommittee. I don't know, Mike might have been on it. I'm not sure. We came up with ideas like drug court, the diversion program, the bracer program. All of this stuff worked. It's not going to work with these individuals. We're not sending them to drug court. We're not going to put them on a bracelet. We're not going to do anything. So when they're over there and we have overcrowding of the jail, we don't have an option what to do with those extra folks. So I just want to say that if we got them in, there's no rehab to get them out.
Correct. And we have bail reform, which is what, all the changes to bail reform, which occurred and when implemented, why we're seeing this. I mean, I think if we were all sitting here a year ago, we were running an inmate population of 130, 140, but the change moving away from magistrates with the bail reform, we're now, I mean, we've seen this influx. We're at 180, 190, and my concern is it's increasing. So, Richard Gadu, sorry, you have not had a lot of floor time. Go ahead.
That's fine. First, if you're going to Stratford County, wondering if you might invite the superintendent from Stratford County to come and visit with us and give us his insight, because they've been part of this program with a very similar contract for a number of years. And his experience with that, I think, would be very valuable to us. You would ask for that. Second thing is, I want you to know there's two other members of this board who consider themselves Italian as well.
I'm the oldest. I'll be the oldest.
Oh, and there's no doubt that you are the oldest. In fact, on Saturday, the coldest day of the year, Tom's birthday.
Okay. Well, we can have a gravy off.
Gravy. So I'd like to hear from Stratford. Do we currently require COs to have a medical exam to work as COs? Isn't that part of our regular employment?
Yes.
So we would say that they've had the medical exam. Or
Yes.
they have to have a new medical exam.
No.
I think that's.
Have I checked? No, what we already do is fine.
It says that's not what the contract says.
Or a plate contract, but yes, our OC Health, what we already do covers.
We'll dig into that.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the concern with community corrections. The new building, we're getting ready to, and that portion of the building's empty, and we want it to be full. We're not quite ready yet, but when we staff that up, that's going to cost us a significant amount of money, and it's my expectation that if we take in ICE and we have extra money, that it will help to fund that, rather than, because if we just fund that, the community corrections right now, that means we're going to have to increase the budget. So I think there's an offsetting factor here that is going to be in our.
And just one thing. So community corrections, so everybody knows, it's not done. There's bunk beds are still coming in. The furniture is not even there yet. There's things so that building can't be open now anyways to begin with. Just I want to throw that out there. It seems like people ask me already, why isn't it open? Well, it physically can't be open right now. Next step that's why I also didn't fund it for this year, because Commissioner Coyle is correct. We still have to go over and do a study of every single camera, every single key, policies for policies for the entire building. We have to run it without any inmates inside of it to make sure there's no issues before I put people over there. So it's not as simple as just saying we're open today. Once that is all up and running, then we will start over there creating policies and working on making that operational so we know what we're looking at.
Superintendent, I believe that when we had talked about community corrections, that we had talked about not having to have additional staff, that the current staff that we have would occupy that building.
Yes.
So there isn't an additional cost. It's just the manpower. It's like It's just having the bodies to, getting the staffing there. And I assume superintendent, so I know that, and I'm gonna, or did you have anything else?
No, go
Okay.
ahead.
I just assume that when obviously we have the initial financials, right? I assume that some of the things that you will give us when you are doing, so we can do a full and accurate assessment of the financial cost, right? Because we have you gave us a draft, which is sort of superficial, but I assume that you're going to include all of there's staffing, right, of correctional officers. We have administrative costs for all when I read the contract, all the reporting requirements is pretty extensive. So there's, I think, likely some administrative costs. When I read the contract, it says we have to give the same level of care as we give to other inmates. So that would include, and I don't know if that's included in prime care, doing MAT. And obviously prime care has said, oh, well, this is what we think, but it could go up, right? That's what they said. And it's concerning to me with prime care that we just spent today, it was $192,000 for 1 month of health services for 100 and, we had 180 inmates, and that the cost of healthcare is only going to be, $666 or $650,000 for the year for 150 detainees. It doesn't totally jive, but I'm sure you'll get to the details on that. Buried costs, heating, electricity, laundry, water, CO injury, grievances, the lost money for on-call officers. We're locked into 3-year pricing. Obviously, for our CBAs, the numbers go up. Transportation from release from the jail, costs of FOIA requests, the list goes on, and I don't, and like all the things, additional things, you've had some tablets, the labor cost, facilities work that's going to increase our labor costs. There are all these hidden costs, overtime, hospital costs, legal line, all these things that I'm sure when you do, obviously, and I'm not putting you on the spot for any of these things now, but I presume when you do that cost analysis, we'll get those.
The other concern too is, I had said in the newspaper about vendors, I'm concerned. All of a sudden the buses start coming and all these guys start coming out of these buses and all this stuff that happens, is Prime Care prepared is Sedeco prepared for 150? I mean, we have to make sure that, everybody has shortages and we watch it every day with long-term care and nursing. So all of a sudden you bring these buses or however they're going to get here, helicopters or whatever the plans are. We got to know, are these vendors prepared to make 150 extra meals 3 times a day? Because they're short-staffed. We see that with Sedeco. They're short-staffed and they're just getting by making food for our residents is really, really what was, you know what I'm saying? In other words, the vendors are a big concern too. And I had said that, we need to hear from, I know the superintendent, I trust everything he says, but I need to know, maybe see a representative from Prime Care, maybe see a representative from Sedeco saying, no, Tom and Kate, and Commissioner Court, and Commissioner Godu, we can do another 450 meals because it's breakfast, it's lunch, and
CO meals.
It's questions that have to be answered. That's why I'm really concerned about getting this thing shoved down our throat and making something that we don't like. And then when we don't like it, the other part of that contract, which really sticks out to me, and my wife was driving, I'm driving her nuts with this contract. I don't want to wait 90 days when I want to get out of it. When I want to get divorced, I want to get divorced. That's realistic. When I want to get out, I want to get out. If I'm a landlord and I tell them they got to get out, I don't want to hear you getting out in 90 days. I want them out. So I'm really reluctant and I really want an ICE representative. When we talked about this ICE thing coming probably April or whatever of last year, they would not come here. So I went to ICE. So I went to Portsmouth, Plymouth, Mass, and they were real reluctant to answer questions that I asked. And they said, well, when you guys get to the situation, when you get to this point, we will come and give you the answer. Well, we got that. I want ICE to come here. I really would like them to attend a meeting. And maybe it's just the three of us, because it can be non-public if we want it to be under contracts. And nothing to do with you folks, but it could be kind of a tough meeting. But I want to ask ICE direct questions, and I want the guy to look me in the eye and give me the answer. I mean, I think that's fair. I don't think I'm
Asking too much for, yeah. The other thing is, I think it's worth noting, we talked about getting stakeholder involvement, right? You talked about Prime Care, Sodexo. Well, I think we also need stakeholder involvement from the hospital. We use Exeter Hospital typically. The contract requires us to have an agreement with a hospital to take detainees. And so I think we need buy-in from the hospital. I mean, if it's saying we are required under the contract to have an agreement with local hospitals, well, we typically bring our inmates to Exeter. Is that, we
Why
may,
would that change?
well, we need to make sure we have buy-in from the hospitals. The last thing I read is that hospitals aren't being reimbursed. There's a freeze on paying hospitals for detainee services. And that freeze is in effect till April of 2026. So question marks I have, it looks like we're on the hook entirely for medical. So that would include going to the hospital. So if an inmate, a detainee needs a heart transplant or, needs chemo, we're on the hook for that. And we could try to,
We may pay it out, gets reimbursed. But what happens is if it's emergency, you can go do it right away. Anything else that's not emergency, you go through to get approved and they make approval for it. But as for medical, it's all paid for. And again, if you want, again, nice to have maybe Superintendent Stratford come in, it's the same thing. All medical is paid for. Only thing it's not paid for is if it's normal over-the-counter, maybe ibuprofen, those kinds of things, but everything else is paid for.
But they haven't paid, there's a freeze on payments for reimbursement of medical until April of 26. And they haven't paid out, ICE hasn't paid out since October to a number of, to the tune, what I read was to the tune of $300 million in medical claims from hospitals. So I raise this as what assurance are we going to have that we're getting reimbursed? And if we don't get reimbursed, we're holding the bag. And, this perceived profit, medical costs could be undone ever so quickly. So again, these are all we're just talking about cost, right? This is what today's.
Lots of questions that they
Okay. Anybody have anything?
just one last.
Please.
We're not gonna have 5 busloads come in at once. Just, I'm anticipating that it would be a small amount. Period, so that we would get used to. But you're right, we need buy-in with Sodexo and
You say you are anticipating. There's nothing in the contract that gives us that requirement that we can take. I appreciate
an understanding of what's happened in other facilities and, contracts are for lawyers to argue about. So there you go.
That's the question that we ask the ICE guy. When I get the ICE guy in that chair, that's what we're gonna ask.
Well, we have no protection in this contract to prevent bus loads. And that's my point. At the end of the day, if you go to court because you have to litigate because they're bringing bus loads, and it's whoa, we didn't anticipate that. Be it's not in the contract. You signed the contract. So anyway, I'm sure we're all right. Any other new business? So let's just.
No, that was it.
Okay. With that, we go into public comment. So if the individuals who would like to make public comment, just because we lately have had a lot of people, we kindly ask that you limit your public comment to 3 minutes, that when you come up, that you identify yourself by name and the town you live in. So don't all jump at once.
Hi, my name's Mike Edgar. I'm from Hampton. Main reason I came today was to talk about community corrections, and I am ecstatic that it was discussed so much before I got up here. So I can just make a few comments to it. This beautiful facility we're in, that was a major part of it, and we're really looking forward to it getting rolling. I know we just had a dedication, we had the holidays, it's the winter, it keeps snowing. And it takes a while to set something up. So, but what I would like to know is in the future, maybe the next meeting, what's the schedule? But yeah, it's a lot of work to be done. I really hope that we're talking about now with the ice potential that I'm concerned that we're going to get distracted from what the main reason that we're here, which is to take care of the county. And that was one of the main reasons we built this building. So I want to make sure we're concentrating on that and we can find out, what the time, we can expect it to be open so that we can benefit the residents of Rockingham County. So, well, it was interesting to hear all the other discussion too, and I'm interested to hear some more of it. But thank you very much, and thanks for opening up the meetings like you have.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Carly Barriant. I'm also from Hampton. Good afternoon. I am here to speak briefly on the question of whether our county enters a partnership with Immigration Customs Enforcement to use the county jail to hold people who have been detained by ICE. I'm here in my personal capacity, but I'm also a member of the Hampton Select Board and have been on the Budget Committee, and I'm running for Congress. There are many concerns that I have with this partnership and the proposed contract, some of which have already been raised here, but I'm going to focus on two things that we all know and can very likely agree on. First, we're in a moment when federal immigration policy and funding is in flux. If you had told me a year ago this is the position we would be in, I would not have believed you. And right now on the table is a contract that could potentially be in effect until my daughter, who's currently a second grader, is entering high school. That's a long time. We've seen some enormous changes, right, in federal funding and priorities, and we will likely to continue to see these changes. Now, the second thing is that many people, including myself, are frustrated by how high our property taxes are in Rockingham County. This year in Hampton, the police department came to us with their proposed budget, and it was 7% higher than last year. That's an increase of $1 million. And I asked, why, police chief, is our budget $1 million higher when we're cutting certain positions and we're cutting back on things? And he said it's because we anticipate $0 in federal funding. So I have to say, who is going to be the one to foot the bill when, not if, we see further changes in federal immigration policy and funding priorities? And I also want to say that if we make a budget, right, we allocate our resources based on what we value, putting us in a situation where we have to divert resources from local priorities, right, from the priorities of the people of Rockingham County, is something that I think is politically and ethically and fiscally risky. And I think it puts additional strain on our budget at a time when we really need to be looking as a town, community, county, and state towards finding reliable, responsible, and renewable sources of revenue. So thank you.
Former Commissioner Brian Chiricello. Let me first start by saying I'm glad I'm not sitting in your seat anymore, but I appreciate all of the questions you're asking, and I think you do need to do due diligence, and I can appreciate that. One of the things that I heard Jude mention something about revision and the solar, is there any way that you can have on the county's website a piece of what we're saving as a county, like I know in the town of Derry, we actually have like a clock that basically we have some solar, not as much as that, but it shows what we save. I don't know if revision actually has something like that.
I can certainly ask about it. They can give us productivity and
Yeah.
daily, et cetera. We should be able to translate it. I mean, we have
Well, it's public comment, so I'm just making a comment. So, the other thing is I want to say from my neck of the woods in Derry, a lot of people have mentioned how wonderful this building is. And it is. So hearing that from our constituents is really a good thing. So I appreciate that. So ask those questions. I think that the tough questions were really good. I think you all should ask the tough questions. When I followed the budget, it looked like you're going to be upcoming with the $4 million increase possibly if you level fund. And some of that money from ICE could be used to offset some of that. So I get the trade-off. You know, we could use that money. If not, the taxpayers it's going to increase on the taxpayers' side. So, but I do understand everyone's concern. And I think you have the right to ask those tough questions. And I hope you continue to do that. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Kate Cook. I'm a city councilor in Portsmouth, and I'm here in my personal capacity, but I'm asking questions that I would be asking and that I will continue to be asking in my capacity as a city councilor. So this facility and our community corrections and corrections in general are county assets. That means they're our taxpayers' assets. And as you all know, Portsmouth is the largest contributor to the county budget. So our taxpayers are very, very critical of that money that we send to the county, and they ask very, very hard questions about why we're sending it and what they're getting as a benefit in return. The federal government is not always the most reliable when it comes to paying their contracts, as we've seen in the last year. They've rolled back several contracts that they'd already committed to local governments and to state governments. So I'm concerned not receiving upfront payment for services. I would expect in entering into any contract with the federal government that we would be asking for that upfront payment. And the reason that I have that concern is what is to say there's not going to be a congressional rollback of funding for Immigrations and Customs Enforcement or the Department of Homeland Security. And if they haven't paid that contract yet to us, they're very likely then to not pay that contract. So then we're asking our taxpayers to pay for federal detention in a facility that wasn't designed for that and that we didn't ask for that in the first place. So I would be very concerned about not having a contract that didn't have upfront funding. Next, I think it's really important that Commissioner Coyle highlighted all the hidden costs of a contract, like utilities costs. Also, are you planning for the additional software and financial tracking that you're going to need? Because I can tell you that our taxpayers are going to ask for line item budget costs for housing, immigrations and customs enforcement detainees. And they're going to want to know how much did that individual prisoner cost? So how much in utilities cost, how much in staffing cost, how much in vendor cost, even the time your administrative staff spent on negotiating contracts for vendors. I also think that the question that the other commissioners asked around vendor capacity is really critical, because a lot of these vendors don't have that extra capacity. And so you're going to be looking for emergency services, which is going to cost more than necessarily the reimbursement that's structured in the contract. So what happens when the facility is full and we have someone that we've arrested in Portsmouth that we're trying to transfer to the facility, but it's full because of ICE detainees? Are we going to be told as a community that you don't have capacity to house our detainee? And then as a result, we have to find that capacity elsewhere? Are we going to have to, as taxpayers, have to pay for that detention for a longer time period within our holding facility, which means paying overtime hours that we're not anticipating to our police force? We have to be thinking about what it looks like for communities that send people to this facility that we're paying for when the capacity is not there to house our prisoners. So that's a serious concern for me. Also, there are very prominent cases of ICE detaining US citizens for more than 24 hours. So what is the county doing to prepare for wrongful detention lawsuits in this facility from US citizens that were detained unlawfully by ICE, but put into a county facility? Because if they can't sue the federal government, they will sue the county. So are you asking for upfront legal costs from the federal government to cover those costs? Because those will be lawsuits that we see pending for years and years down the road, maybe potentially past the duration of the contract. Thank you.
I'm Peter First. I'm a resident of Portsmouth. Piggyback on Kate's comments. One thing I want to talk about is risk-adjusted returns. Not sure if you're familiar with the concept. Risk-adjusted returns are when you have an idea of how much something will cost, how much profit you'll make, and then you adjust it based on the risk. So you account for legal liabilities, bad actors, we've talked about holding children, talked about mistakes that workers will make. All those have a massive cost. If you want to do a case study of a local jail, you probably want to speak with the Bristol County Jail in Massachusetts. They recently had a lawsuit, costed $10 million in 2020. That was a lawsuit filed by ICE detainees, class action lawsuit. There's a lot of them. You can look at New York City. It's been an $84 million lawsuit, very similar situation. Los Angeles County, there was a $14 million lawsuit. If you think about how much money you're going to gain in 1 year, you have to factor in all of those costs. I have a lot of other questions. I know we don't have that much time. Another one is the capacity of the jail facility. We've talked about, I think the contract says there will be 400 spaces for inmates or detainees at the jail. But the U.S. Department of Justice's National Standards to Prevent, Detection, and Respond to Prison Rape PREA audit from 2024, it's not 400, it's 300 inmates. So how do you do the math when you have 300 versus 400? That's a 25% difference. That's a massive, I don't understand how we would ever be able to fulfill the requirements of having 150 inmates. We already have 186 at the jail. 886 plus 150 is a lot more than 300. All in all, there's a lot of risks here. I don't understand how we're going to meet this.
I am Lauren Colifrath. I'm a nobody from Newmarket, New Hampshire, and I thank you for opening this up to the public today. So just piggybacking off of something that someone else said, as a taxpayer, as a property owner, I will be one of those people that wants a line item of what all of this ICE stuff costs as a taxpayer. At the same time, whenever I see those numbers, I will be wondering why we're not spending that money on our schools, taking care of our old people, improving our healthcare, working on drug addiction and prevention and recovery. The other thing that, and I do appreciate all the fiscal stuff that you guys are talking about, but there is a component that hasn't been mentioned, and that is if ICE enters into an agreement with our police, I think that it completely erodes the confidence and the trust that the community has with our law enforcement officers. What we're seeing ICE doing in other places is not something that we want recreated in New Hampshire. I think that for a lot of us, and I can only speak for myself and people who I speak of and talk the same way. Our trust in our law enforcement officers is already hanging on by a thread, and introducing ICE into the equation makes a lot of us nervous for those reasons, especially since I think that NPR said 80% of those detained in New Hampshire have no criminal record whatsoever. So they're being detained just for basically being an illegal immigrant, which is, to the best of my knowledge, is that not a misdemeanor? Or I'm sorry, a civil offense. So I just think that it's a lot of money, it's a lot of time, and we're spending a lot of energy on something that it seems like most of the community doesn't want. So thank you very much again.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? I see Steve Pierce in Zoom. You wish to speak? Okay. With that, that will close public comment, and I'll take a motion to enter into non-public session.
All right, I'll make a motion to enter into non-public per New Hampshire RSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2A personnel.
Second.
On the motion to enter into non-public, Commissioner Tombrello,
Yes.
Commissioner Godu,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Thank you, everyone.